Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, what a pleasure to be here with you, moderating a fantastic panel that we have for you right now. Very kindly introduced by our MC. Before we get our conversation underway, I am going to give each of the gentlemen an opportunity to very briefly tell you a little bit about themselves and their role within their respective companies. So we'll start with you, Ashok, if you can begin.
Thanks, Jane. I'm the Group CEO for Kotak Mahindra Bank, which is one of the largest private sector banks in India.
I set up and run SC Ventures, the ventures building arm backed by Standard Chartered.
Thank you. I'm Bernd.
I've had the pleasure and the honor to be the CEO of Commercial Bank of Dubai for a little over 8 years now.
Thank you. Because you're on the end, I'm going to start with you, Dr. Bernd, if that is okay. Can you begin by telling us how CBD is leveraging advanced technologies to transform banking operations? You know, what broader impacts do you foresee for the financial industry in this tech-driven economy that we're seeing?
Yeah, we've been talking about technology changing banking probably for the past, I don't know, 60 years or so since the introduction of the ATMs, probably. But I do believe that things are really different now. The pace is accelerating, the number of technologies, the complexity, the sophistication of technology is changing. And key for us is to start and always be focused on customer experience. I think it's very important to always realize that technology is an enabler, and is only an enabler to offer better customer experience. Even if you focus on technology as making your organization more efficient, the ultimate goal of making it more efficient is to make the customer experience better. By making your processes more straight through, faster, with a lower error rate. So for us, in any technology we apply, the key is really to focus on using it in such a way that it improves customer experience.
Thank you. Ashok, when we talk about digital inclusion and India's stack, you know, India has been a leader in digital payments, you know, largely due to India's stack. You know, how has Kotak Mahindra Bank utilized this technology to promote digital inclusion across the various regions there?
So Jane, I've been very lucky. I've worked in virtually every single continent in the world. Yeah. And I went back to India about 16 months ago to take over as Group CEO for Kotak. And what I saw in terms of the public digital infrastructure that India has built, it is just incredible. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any other country in the world that has that kind of infrastructure. And it's not only payments, it's right from identity, payments, documents, I mean, you name it. Now, this gives us a real opportunity to reach out at scale. Obviously, with 1.5 billion people, the only way you can reach out and get financial inclusion going in a country like India is leveraging technology. So we've got a product called 811, which is India's first first digital kind of product which you can download in less than a minute, and that allows you to set up and get going. We're doing about 250,000 accounts a month, you know, and scaling that up quite dramatically. And the kind of things you can do, you know, with this kind of customer base, targeted towards core India, because even the core Indian customer has all the same needs, right? And you can do that all digitally and really drive that. We are super excited about 811.
Alex, something that was mentioned by Ashok and Dr. Bernd, you know, we talk about that infrastructure and that customer-centric innovation and approach. You know, how integral is that to the industry from your perspective?
Well, first I'll echo both points, right? Profound respect for what Indian banks are doing in terms of financial inclusion. Yes, it is enabled by infrastructure in the India stack, but it also takes forward-thinking banks to use it, embrace it, and do all the things you're doing on the back of it. And Bernd just mentioned it starts with clients. It starts with the client experience, serving clients the way they want to be served, and transforming the bank if that's what it takes accordingly. using technology, but it's not about the gadget, it's about the client in the first place and the use cases. So how central is infrastructure and technology? It's very central. It's an integral part of it, just as long as we remember it's about serving clients the way they want and the way they need to be served.
You are launching your book here at Dubai FinTech Summit, correct? You're looking shocked. I hope you are. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please, and the key areas of financial innovation that SC Venture are focusing on? With your microphone in your face. Thank you.
I hope it's intelligible, everyone can hear me. We are launching a book. It's Nothing Ventured, Nothing Gained is the title. I wrote it together with members of the team. And it's really the genesis of SC Ventures. Why did we do this to ourselves? Why did we set out to start building ventures? So it's really the early years in some ways. It's a snapshot in time. But we're trying to explain the rationale of doing things in a certain way, some of which is very counterintuitive, and it is especially counterintuitive, I think, when coming out of a large organization, let alone a large bank. So I hope it resonates, and I hope it's generally speaking useful to anybody trying to do the same thing, meaning transform a corporate organization, including a bank, and ensure that it is relevant and serves its clients in the right way. I hope it's inspirational for others to follow. Yeah.
Dr.
Feedback,
Bernd.
please.
Dr. Bernd, I want to delve a little bit more into how fintech ecosystems are driving that innovation. We've touched briefly on things, but in terms of banking services, what principles are there to guide banks for building effective partnerships?
I think the key word is indeed partnerships. Fintechs are not competitors to banks. They're really complementary. Banks work together with fintechs, make sure that they use the strength of fintechs, because there are areas where fintechs are better, more agile, perhaps more customer-focused, more customer-centric. Banks have to make sure, I think the key thing that banks have to do is make sure their infrastructure at large is ready to work with fintechs. So that means that your systems need to be fully API'd or API ready so that you can build the connections with the fintechs. You have a sandbox environment. And what we've done as Commercial Bank of Dubai, we set up our own digital factory in the IFC. Our digital development teams are sitting there end to end, from customer experience all the way to the actual integration work that we do. And I must say that is working extremely well.
You're nodding through this. Yeah.
That's great. The only thing I would add to this, complete agreement, I would add the word empathy. Empathy has a soft connotation. It does not mean being nice at all times. What it does mean is understanding what the other partner is thinking, where they're coming from, and coming up with a combination that is a winning combination. And in fact, we have a chapter on this in the book, because some of this is very hard for a large corporate to do, hence digital factories and separate setups.
And you're right, and it actually worked very well. The experience we've had so far is that we probably have the right size to make this work. I agree with what Alex is saying. Even though empathy is probably not the biggest thing that the Dutch are known for, I think we have been able to make it work with the fintechs that we're working with.
You mentioned that, and foundations are key to anything, the driving force moving forwards. But Ashok, if we're bringing in regulation and the regulatory environment, especially at RBI, because I believe, you guys are known for your progressive regulatory stance. How have you benefited basically from those new technologies and solutions, and what has been your experience of the regulatory framework that plays into that?
See, Jane, a lot is said about the benefits of technology and how technology can improve customer service, get things better and stuff like that. Unfortunately, these technologies are also available to the not so good guys, right? And they are using technology to create real problems for customers. Digital fraud, payments, scams, all of these kinds of things are are really growing at some incredible percentage. And that's happening all around the world, whether it's the UK, the US, India. I don't know the numbers for the UAE, but I'm sure that's true here as well. And therefore, getting a right-minded regulator who can look at it and create balance. Sometimes in these things, bringing in a little bit of friction may not be a bad thing. Two, when you kind of use black box technologies, not too many people understand how LLMs and stuff like that work. Whether it leads to unconscious biases which get transformed into the development of these models can mean a big thing, right? And therefore, the regulator taking a stance and saying, hey, look, I will monitor this, or I'll put in enough guardrails, right, that banks and everybody else have to worry about these things, I think is very important.
I think, safeguarding customer data is paramount to the industry. What measures, not necessarily just that have been put in place, but where should we be driving this? And that's a question to you all, really, across the industry. So I guess, Alex, if we start with you.
Sure. First, you just mentioned India, and let's switch gears to Dubai and the UAE, where we have wonderful engagement. That engagement doesn't mean we're necessarily agreeing on everything. It means engagement, meaning willingness to learn, engage, and come up with the right frameworks to enable the conduct of business. You mentioned safeguarding customer data. Yes, it is non-negotiable. You should do that as a banker. But I would mention conduct of business generally speaking, and I would expect regulators to be focused on, broadly speaking, the same things, and that includes conduct of business more broadly, so data security, cybersecurity, financial crime compliance, the way we conduct business generally speaking, segregation of duties, all the things that we have learned, the hard way in past financial crises, and in my mind, completely apply to the fintech space today, including and not limited to digital assets, where early adoption is a great thing, but ultimately we want framework that will enable us to operate the financial services on modern rails that are more efficient, that are more user-friendly, but in a safe way, in a robust way. And I call this institutional grade, bank grade, and we absolutely need regulators for that.
Dr. Bernd.
Yeah, I think the key word is indeed non-negotiable, as Alex was saying. So the experience that you offer your customers has to be 100% safe and secure. And there is no compromise on that. It goes hand in hand with a very proactive customer communication on how to make sure that they use the services that you offer in a safe way. A very qualified and proactive fraud prevention unit. And in case things go wrong, and they will still go wrong, you have to be very transparent in your communication to your customer as well. Let the customer know what happened, what you do, what you can do, what the customer needs to do. And to me, it's a package, and you have to get all of it right.
Ashok, anything you'd like to add into that?
I think the North Star is customer consent. Ultimately, the data is owned by the customer, and however hard it will be for us as banks and financial institutions, eventually, if you need the trust of the customer, you'll have to go for customer consent before you can use the customer's data.
So we've discussed customers a little bit. If we move into businesses, when we talk about micro, small, and medium enterprises, what innovative solutions are we seeing and have you developed to address their needs?
So I think that's a very, very interesting segment from multiple perspectives. The first thing is usually those are the kind of companies, and that's the sector that forms the backbone of any economy, right? So getting it right for them is really critical. Two, those are the people who are really, really strapped for time. They don't have the resources of a large company, but they've got the same demands that every company kind of makes. And three, usually it's all about cash flow. For them, cash flow becomes very important. So anything you can do to really help them on a cash flow basis, right? Right from simple things which makes it easy for them to do their accounting, or do their tax collections, or their tax payments, right down to analytics, right? Does a little flower shop in one part of Satwa know how many flowers were sold, what time, who is their regular customers? How do you provide that kind of data to help them make better decisions, right? And I think it's an area which is, rich, where we can really get innovation to play. And some of the things that we've done is, the analytics, the integration with accounting softwares and stuff like that, to make that customer's life truly easier. But I'm sure Alex has got some
Alex was nodding through there, yeah.
I'm nodding. I'm very passionate about this, and it's really dear to my heart. Back to your previous question, safeguarding customer data, yes, but then customers will say, but please use it. Use it so you can do something useful for me. And in the case of SMEs and supply chains, it's about using data, and by that I mean integrating informational flows, financial flows, physical flows in a supply chain, which enables us to do things that wouldn't be possible, would have been possible a few years ago. But Solve is obviously a venture that we have built in India, and now has 500,000 SMEs and doing commerce, enabling logistics on the platform, also with 15 NBFIs, financial institutions, plugging into the supply chain financing. And this is bringing to life financial inclusion, and not necessarily banking the unbanked, but really banking with the right financial services in the context of what these SMEs actually need. Needless to say, we'll come up with an SME proposition in the UAE. They're all different because markets are different, have different dynamics, and so Project HAL is going to be our SME proposition in the UAE, and we're working on a number of partnerships locally to make that happen. Very excited about it.
Dr. Bernd.
Yeah, I think a key is indeed to make it a full offering, including your non-financial services.
Absolutely.
Needless to say, and I'm not going to repeat everything the other two guys said, but SMEs are an extremely important part of any economy and are extremely important to be serviced in the right way by a bank. And that's more than just lending, it's more than just banking services, it's the non-financial services as well. Making use of the data of the customer in such a way that you provide a better range of services, that's I think something that we all strive for.
We've talked a bit about customers and businesses, but let's take this to the employees who are working for the banks, your workforce. How are you preparing at CBD, your workforce, to deal with this technology and implement it as we're driving forwards?
Yeah, it's absolute key, because customer experience starts with having your employees able and willing to provide that experience. So we've done a range of things. We launched something called the Digital Accelerator a couple of years ago, and we took a large part of the bank through that, which was a great success. We have a program on data and AI, and in that order as well, because applications of AI, in my opinion, start with having your data in the right way and in the right format and usable in the right way. That's something that we're running right now, and we're going to take the whole bank through that. We've had a promptathon with Microsoft, and I'm pleased to say we're one of the heaviest users of Copilot in the region compared to our staff. We made Copilot available to essentially everyone in the bank. We have something called Hack and Snack, where we get our IT guys, operations teams to work together in this space. And it's really, it's a process, it's not a project. It's a continuous process of making sure that you equip your staff with the skills and the tools that they need to provide this kind of experience.
Ashok, have you implemented anything that has helped bridge this skills gap in this very fluid environment?
So Jane, you start with the customer and you say, what does the customer want, right? When he talks to anybody from the bank, or she talks to anybody in the bank, she wants a complete answer. And she doesn't want him to say that, this is done by this department, that is done by the other department. So what we're saying is, how do we use technology to really help the frontline person look really smart in front of the customer, right? And it's impossible for this one poor person to know every single rule, regulation across every single product that we sell. And therefore, we've used AI to really empower the frontline person, to allow that frontline person to look really, really smart in front of the customer. And that is not only helping in terms of the customer, but also that person then gets hooked onto your platform. It's very hard for that person to then leave your company, join another place where he or she doesn't have that support to look that smart. And everybody likes to look smart, right?
When you're saying a skills gap, it sounds a little negative, and the reality is, by definition, there's a skills gap, because whatever I know is going to be obsolete in 5 years. You know, we had the privilege to study for about 20 years and make a career on the back of it. Ain't going to happen anymore.
Okay.
And so by definition, it's an ongoing skills gap. And if you take a human resource lens on everything we're talking about on this panel, it's about skills building.
Yeah.
It's about skills building. When we have intrapreneurs, an intrapreneur program, and they go through venture building and learn to pitch and learn to frame a problem and learn to all the things that are relevant to whatever use case we're focused on, the guarantee is not that the project is going to work. In fact, a lot of them don't. But my guarantee is whoever goes through such program will come out a better person, well, a better professional.
A better professional. Okay, let's flip this in now then to sustainable finance. And, you know, what role does the industry play, you know, in terms of their responsibility to meet growing ESG expectations? What can be done there? Alex, I'm still on.
This is for me. So one thing is to operate sustainably as an organization. Another thing is to build ventures and business models with sustainability at the core, which is a little harder. I think the role we play is going to have it's a critical role. In some ways, you know, the more we go, the more we see the importance of carbon credit markets and sustainable finance and enabling sustainable financing. But there is a dearth of technology applied to it. There's a dearth of standards. There's an element of needing real forensics on some of the concepts we're looking at, and we're in the process of building, you know, a number of ventures platforms. One of which is in the public domain. It's a joint venture with Engie, the French utility, to enable sustainable financing at an institutional grade and in a way that we think will really help this market make it to the next level.
Thank you. Dr. Bernd, how have you been driving environmental responsibility at CBD?
Yeah, for us, all three are important, the E, the S, and the G. We've taken measures ourselves to make sure that we restrict our emissions. First of all, that we measure them, and then we've taken, we started some projects to restrict them. We made a commitment to be carbon neutral. And I think with all of the major banks in the UAE, during COP28, we announced the target of providing a massive amount of making a large amount of sustainable finance available to assist all of our customers with their energy transition. I must say that has been a big success so far. There's really great interest on the side of our customers in the UAE. So it has been very successful for both parties.
And I can see it's conviction, right? You're doing this because it makes sense and it's the right thing to do, and you're not really choosing. It's inherently it's a conviction of yours.
No, it is absolutely. It is the right thing to do, and that's why we do it. And Alex is absolutely right. This is driven by a determination that we want to do the right thing as a bank.
Thank you. Ashok.
See, Jane, sustainability in any business model is fundamental. Mm-hmm. In finances, it becomes even more fundamental because there is, you know, finance, money touches every single human being. Every single human being. You can't escape from it, right? That's one. Number two, if you look at it from our perspective, an educated customer is the best customer, right? Because otherwise you'll end up with all of difficulties and complaints and all of that kind of good stuff. And therefore, building sustainable finance and business models becomes super critical, right? And how do you actually go out and build something which is sustainable, will deliver? And look, the rules and, you know, the rules of what is acceptable 10 years ago is not acceptable today. So those things have to continuously evolve. And therefore, at least we pay a lot of attention to, is the business model sustainable? If it's sustainable, it is something that you can kind of really invest in, grow, and expect it to the future. If it's not sustainable, it's either going to get competed away or regulated away.
Alex, you guys opened your Middle East office in 2024. Have there been some highlights since you've been here?
Middle East office is growing, thriving in my mind. I perceive this place to be one of the hotspots of nation building on the planet. And nation building implies ambitions, aspirations, momentum, willingness to do things, willingness to build, which really lends itself to venture building and which we do. So we've gone from, only a few years ago from 2 nascent little ventures in the UAE. Well, first, these ventures have done well and are scaling, but we now have 7 businesses across the UAE and, 8 coming soon, more to come, 150 people on the ground, which in the context of venture building is a meaningful presence, and I couldn't be more excited about what we're doing here.
Thank you. Bernd, what we're going to look into the future now. What emerging technological trends do you believe will be reshaping the global financial sector?
It's no surprise that I'm going to say that AI will probably have the most significant impact. Not sure if you can call it an emerging technology. I did my thesis on AI back in 1996. I think the term AI was coined in something like 1973 or around that date. But what has changed over the last couple of years is that computing power has become so powerful that you now have extremely useful real-time applications of AI. Things that were only theoretical 30 years ago when I was looking at it have become realistic today and can be used today. And whether it's machine learning, where I still believe there's a massive room to apply more of it in the financial sector, or Gen AI, which will help to make our front line staff smarter, as Ashok was saying, will help them to ask the right questions, to understand customers better. I really believe that the whole spectrum of AI applications will fundamentally change financial services. It will change any industry, but an industry like financial services, where you essentially deal with information, and with information that has become digitized in full, will be more affected and will be faster changed or transformed than many others.
What do you think will be the challenges that brings, though, as well, that we will have to potentially look out for?
I think the first challenge is to make sure, and we discussed it already, is that you take your people with you, that you take your staff with you, because this is really an opportunity. It's an opportunity for my colleagues as well. It's not a threat, but it's really an opportunity. I forgot who said it, but somebody said, the threat is not AI, the threat is the person who knows how to use AI, so we better make sure that all of our people know how to use AI. And I think on a more basic level, data is a massive challenge. I worked at 3 different banks over the past 20-odd years. At all of those bank, data is a continuous challenge. And I'm sure Alex will have seen it as well, and so will Ashok. You get these projects once every 3 years that promise to fundamentally change the way that data is managed, and never again will you end up with the same issues. Typically, those projects are less than successful. But if you really want to get the most out of AI, you have to get your data right. Your data architecture, your data governance, your data quality, it has to be right. Because without having that in place, it will be very hard to get the most out of AI.
Ashok, what technological advancements are you exploring as we move forwards?
So, Jane, I think before you get into what technology is really going to play out, I think the more important thing is to say, what are the fundamental trends that are appearing or shaping financial services? And to my mind, there are 2 big trends. The first big trend is speed.
Yeah.
Right? We are in the age of instant gratification, right? And I think the tech companies that, do shopping and stuff like that have really spoiled everybody. So instant gratification and therefore speed is a fundamental factor, right? And two is, if speed becomes that important, embeddedness becomes very, very important, right? I'm doing something, I don't want to step out to do financial services. I want to do it within the journey that I am on whatever I want to kind of do. Now, whether that's an institutional client buying equity, or whether that's custody, or whether that's the consumer, it just cuts across all those segments, right? And so if speed and embeddedness are the two things that are really driving and shaping financial services going forward, any technology that helps get us to that speed and embeddedness will really get ahead, right? So if you think about it, and I think Dr. Bernd said it well, that artificial intelligence allows the company to understand and therefore do things which is in a speedier fashion. That's why digital kind of took off. That's why the API kind of infrastructure kind of works. That's why open banking kind of makes sense. And therefore, I think we should keep the fundamental drivers and then evaluate the technology that helps us get there.
But you mentioned the speed and the technology, and with that, how do we keep up with the speed the technology is advancing? Because that's quite a headache for some, I guess, as well as being an exciting opportunity.
Jane, it's a migraine. I completely agree with you. It is very, very, very hard, right? And you know, the important thing, Jane, in this is, it's very easy to get wrapped up into, this is the new technology, let me invest a lot of money, this is what I'm taking a bet on. I mean, are we really qualified to take these bets? Look at what happened to OpenAI in the US, and then when China came out with DeepSeek, suddenly life changed, right? Suddenly NVIDIA's kind of stock price dropped by I don't know how much.
Yeah.
So I take it and I say, look, every new technology, there is a buzz, right? And there's a bill, right? The buzz is very, very interesting, but the costs are huge, right? And you have to choose as a company as to, do you really want to be the the leader, right? And if you're a leader, are you willing to take that bet and go down that particular path? Or do you want to be a fast follower, right? When it's a little more, confirmed that this is the way to go. And I think those are the kind of judgment calls that, managers, senior managers like us will have to make and keep up. This is the age where, the days when you could go to school or college for 20 years and then not go back to school or college or not learn are simply over.
Yeah.
If today you're not curious and you're not learning every single day, guess what? Your history very soon.
Alex.
I echo both sides. You talk about speed, and Bernd talked about taking people with us, and you asked about how do we keep up with technological evolution, and therein lies the answer, right? So taking people with you and constantly sort of updating ourselves. I will observe in the context of AI that human nature being what it is, if something's done to you, you're likely to be defensive. Maybe want to slow it down a bit and want to control it better. When you're doing something, when you're adopting and when you're embracing, your mindset changes completely into experimentation and doing things and trying to make it constructive and useful. And so that's where adoption in the context of taking people with us is so important, and that's what gets you the velocity, the speed that you're just alluding to. My only other observation is, to your point, buzzwords, right? So AI may be the buzzword of the moment. Some time ago we had blockchain, some time ago we had cloud, some time ago they're all relevant, they're all foundational technologies. My point is they're all intertwined, right? So think of, I'll try and bring it to life. Think of an AI agent settling coins on a blockchain in an immersive, meaning metaverse type environment. And that's a venture that is cloud native, obviously. It's all very powerfully intertwined, and what I just described is probably the very near future of gaming, which is a couple of billion people on the planet. So the going from one buzzword to the next helps structure the conversation and focus the mind maybe, but an element of bearing in mind how these things interplay with each other and how powerful that is.
If I could add something to it, because I think Ashok is right. The worst thing you can do is to try and chase every new development and every new trend. I think bringing it back to use cases to customer experience and to understand how technology can help improving customer experience in certain use cases, that's key. And then the technology will sort of follow by itself.
What do you think is going to be the most, I mean, we've talked about the embracing of technologies. What do you think is going to be the most defining factor on the industry in the next 3 to 5 years, Dr. Bernd?
I think that's very clear. The institutions that will be able to use technology in such a way that it allows them to provide the best possible customer experience will be the ones that are going to win in this environment.
Alex?
I agree. It's embracing and adopting technology for the sake of serving clients the way they want to be served. As simple as that.
Ashok, anything else you could add into that?
Technology is completely transforming. It's transformed a lot of industries and is transforming financial services at a rapid pace. I think we've got to be very thankful to our regulators for creating a moat. Otherwise, it would have got over, completely, decimated, like bookshops got decimated. And we just got to pick up, the pace at which we make the change.
Exciting times to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our panelists, Ashok, Alex, and Dr. Bernd.
Thank you, Thank you.